Engines scream down the track, future speeds won't look back. Tires burn, hearts attack, 2024 ain't slack. Mountains of metal fly by, crimson flags touch the sky. Champions reign, gonna die, gripping the wheel we try. Just drive the speeds alive, just drive in the fire we dive. Just drive the thrill, survive, just drive. Grit and sweat fuel the race, nerves of steel, ain't no grace. Monaco to endless chase, life and death embrace. Mountains of metal fly by, crimson flags touch the sky. Champions reign, gonna die, gripping the wheel we try. Just drive the speeds alive, just drive in the fire we dive. Just drive the thrill, survive, just drive. Grit and sweat fuel the race, nerves of steel, ain't no grace. Monaco to endless chase, life and death embrace. Cameras flash, fierce delight, track lights scorch through the night. Chasing dreams, ain't no fight, in this speed we take flight. Just drive the speeds alive, just drive in the fire we dive. Just drive the thrill, survive, just drive. Just drive, just drive, just drive. Just drive. Just drive.
Feel the speed, the thrill, high octane drama can't get off fill. Engines roaring loud, heartbeats on the rise. On NFR, see the sparks in our eyes. Racing through the night, chasing every turn. On NFR, adrenaline we burn. Pit stops and fast cars, it's a wild ride. NFR, in our veins we can't hide. NFR, feel the rush, feel the speed. Formula One dreams, we take the lead. On NFR, we're flying high. Under the lights, we touch the sky. Yeah. Every lap a story, every driver's dream. On NFR, racing's the supreme. Checkered flags waving, champions arise. NFR brings the glory to our eyes. NFR, where the legends are born. Speeding past the limits, engines reborn. In the fast lane, every second counts. NFR, the thrill always mounts. NFR, feel the rush, feel the speed. Formula One dreams, we take the lead. On NFR, we're flying high. Under the lights, we touch the sky. NFR with the rush, feel the speed. Formula One dreams, we take the lead. On NFR's lane, every second counts. NFR, the thrill always mounts. NFR, feel the rush, feel the speed. Formula One dreams, we take the lead. On NFR, we're flying high. Under the lights, we touch the sky. You to NFR, feel the speed, the speed. You to NFR.
so wild. Lions on the field unfiled. DRS takes the lead, and F1 brings the speed. Thursday nights with the crew, every race like something new.
Engines roar, lights flash, speeding through in a dash. Drivers with nerves of steel, thrills you can't conceal. Thursday nights rev high, 7:30 watch time fly. DRS lead on screen, NFR taking the scene. Fast lane fever, feel the thrill. Crowds are cheering, can't sit still. The race is tight, the drama real. On NFR, the magic's real. Rubber burns on the track, pressure's on, no turning back. Tensions rise with every lap, gotta win, no room for gap. DRS, battle fierce, through the chaos and the gears. Thursday night, the place to be, tuned to NFR and C. Fast lane fever, feel the thrill. Crowds are cheering, can't sit still.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to NFR. Welcome to Thursday nights. It's time for DRS. Of course, Season 11, Round 11, penultimate round of Season 11. As always, we have a full qualifying session followed by the 50% race. We have 16 drivers at the beginning of the session, so unless anybody else joins, should just be one driver at risk at the end of this session. Of course, Q2, a lot more to play for. Welcome to the comment section to Panda, to Citizen, and to Marlies. Good to have you back. It's very early days at the moment, very green racetrack, very empty racetrack. Some of the quicker drivers won't feel the need to rush out just yet. And expect a lot of sandbagging in the early days. Some drivers will be going out with a tyre that you wouldn't usually see in qualifying. There we go, there's 4 of them on the medium. As soon as you see somebody not on the softest compound in qualifying, well, they're probably not trying to go as quick as possible. So you are going to see sandbagging, and the true pace of these drivers, for most of them at least, will only be revealed in Q3. We ride with the Aston Martin. This is Quibus, his teammate, a lap behind him on an outlap. It's the Red Bull ring, previously known as the A1 ring, and before that the Oshstreicher ring. Of course, that track was a little longer than this one, also a little quicker than this one. Track does still exist, so Red Bull actually do want to bring that layout back, but they are seeking FIA Grade 1 approval. Quibus about to go over the line and give us our first time lap of the evening. It's a 1:05.0. And you can expect these times to only come down. We rode with the one Aston Martin, now let's ride with the other Aston Martin. This is Will, giving the team of Lawrence Stroll all of the airtime in the early stages of qualifying. This is Will, of course, short racetrack. Stay just over a minute to do a lap time around here. One of the shorter racetracks on the calendar, and with its average speed, the drivers get around here really quickly. You see them start a quali lap, you look away, and they're in sector 3. He's about to go over the line. Is he able to go quicker than his teammate? No, he doesn't. It's close enough for now. 1:05.0, the quickest time. Then Will, he just got a 1:05.7, so he's 7/10 off his teammate, but he's not on the soft compounder tyre, so we know there's a lot more in the pocket. It's a lot more available. It's just not being shown as of yet. Still most of the field yet to set a lap time. Just 5 drivers now with the lap time on the board. Shane's gone quickest with a 1:05.0. Very, very close to Quibus' time. In fact, if I'm seeing that right, that's a gap of... Okay, I wasn't seeing that right. I thought it was 4 thousandths of a second. It's just over 200ths of a second. Nevertheless, extremely close. This is the Alpine. Of course, lots of rumours going around the paddock when it comes to this team here. Lots of rumours that it could drop its manufacturer status and pick up a Merc engine. This is Nick Gishin in the Williams. Ooh, that got messy, went past his teammate. Not sure if his teammate meant to do that. Got out of the way, a little bit too much out of the way, ran through the gravel. Right now with the Williams. Surely that lap would have been hampered in some way. Even for a moment, if you think you're about to run into your teammate. Going to be backing off, so we won't see the best of Nick Gishin just yet. Goes over the line. And nonetheless, a 105.2 on a set of mediums, and that is very impressive. If you guys know in the comment section what's the difference between the soft and the medium, let me know. Of course, on some tracks it can be as much as a second, even more. On other circuits, it's not that much. 3, 4, 5 tenths. Shane and Kurbis, that is P1 and 2, they have both retired from the session, so they are happy with those lap times and will take no further part in qualifying. This is Nick Gishin. I think this will be an in-lap, or is this a second flyer? You've got too much on the curb there, don't think he wanted to do that, just loses a bit of momentum. Half a tenth while you're trying to get your traction back. To make a difference because he peels off into the pits. When a team on the decline, at least in the real world, what happened to Red Bull? This is the only Red Bull out on track today. Secret, he's no longer out on track, he's in the pits and practicing his braking for the speed limiter. Of course, it's something you don't want to get wrong in the race. Speeding in the pit lane will cost you a 10-second penalty, can be potentially race breaking. If you're racing at the front and it's a close race, that one mistake can cost you everything. Of course, here in Austria, track limits is always an issue, especially around this final corner. Just use too much of that outside curb, getting greedy. Sometimes you can invalidate. Panda hasn't done any of that. He stayed within the lines. Goes up into P7. It's a good lap time, 105.5. Just 5 tenths of a second, should I say half a second, covering the top 8. Sometimes will get closer. I assure you these drivers aren't pushing for all they're worth. It's just 16 drivers, so one driver would have been at risk. Stoffel has retired from the session without a lap time. So, I wonder if we will get a full 15 drivers in Q2. Let's hope so. This is Panda. Seeing all of the racetrack there on the outside, almost getting tyres on the gravel. Just using everything that he can. Of course, 2 tyres need to be on the inside of the white line at all times. He's peeling off into the pits. These guys look so aggressive in in the third sector that I think they're on a quick lap, and then they peel off into the pits. So we have J-Boy. We just got some footage of J-Boy, some video evidence. If anybody's worried or wondering why the speed limit sign is no longer there, well, J-Boy decided to remove it in spectacular fashion. Cowboy remains in the pits without a lap time. Levy P3 in the pits. Dan Ritfeld P6 in the pits. Everybody in the pits. I think we've got one car out on track. That's Nam Assassin. It's not going particularly quickly. Quiet time now on the racetrack. not much happening. The RB will get all of the footage, no one else to broadcast. And Kev has heard my cries for action. He's come out of the pits, so at least we have 2 cars out on track. Nam Assassin, 106.5, looking to improve on that. Kev's got a 118, so I presume he backed out of that lap. 3 laps on those softs. I think that's a very, very heavy race car. Nam Assassin peeling off into the pits. Don't want to leave it that late in the race. Want to make sure you're on the right side of that pit line. Now we just have Kev out on track. So let's follow the Alpine. The hill into turn 1. I use all the racetrack on the outside, but not too much. And with that tarmac runoff, it's so easy to do. It's so tempting. Past the chicane that they put in for MotoGP. Luckily the F1 cars don't have to use that chicane. Really ruined the MotoGP layout. Of course it was installed for safety. Almost a very big accident happening at that corner in MotoGP where, quite frankly, 2 drivers could have been killed that day, but let's just say it was very close. Kev the only man out on track. Battery is depleted. I think he's thrown everything into this lap, but we don't see a... That's how you can see when someone's pushing. When someone's pushing, you'll usually see their battery's completely depleted, and then in the middle of your screen you'll see a little fuel tank flashing in red. That's when you know everybody, that is fumes, all the weight out of the car, soft tires. That's when someone's pushing. When the battery's depleted and the fuel is not flashing in red, well, that means they've got a little bit more fuel than they actually need. Of course, if you're in the comment section, say hello so I know you're here. I know Marlies is here, I know Citizen is here, I know Panda is here, as well as in the cockpit. Don't know if the F1 teams would be too crazy about their drivers watching YouTube in between qualifying sessions. Maybe that's what they have up on those screens. Kev currently P14. He stays P14. He's just having multiple laps on those soft tires, getting his eye in, getting a feel for the circuit, getting a feel for those softs. Most of the drivers have retired. Dan Ritfeld, Wezo and Cowboy still in the pits. Cowboy no lap time from him. And then just Kev out on track. He's not retiring early. He's managing his qualifying session, using it for a little bit of last minute practice before we head off into that 50% race. This is just Q1, still 2 qualifying sessions to come. They get shorter each time. This first one was 18 minutes long, the next one will be 15 minutes long, and the last one just the 12 minutes. But by that time we're down to 10 cars, and the race circuit won't be as busy as it is now. Well, not now, but in Q1 you can usually have a rough time with traffic on a short race circuit. Drivers aren't going to have to worry about that as the sessions progress. As they do, get less and less cars. At the moment I'm not sure. We will definitely lose Stoffel at the end of Q1. Don't know if we're going to lose any more drivers than that. course, we have seen Q2 start with 14, sometimes 13 drivers. Kev is now retired. So Wezo is now retired. So we just have Cowboy. So Cowboy, if you are listening, if anyone's in contact with Cowboy, tell him to quickly retire, or if he's leaving things very late. No lap time from Cowboy, and he's the only man that remains in the session. So we will need to wait, hopefully not the full 2 minutes, because what will I talk about? Cowboy eventually emerges from the pits, gives us a little bit of action right at the end of quali. He's going to go out and set his lap time. He's left things right till the end, which means he's just going to have to use the one set of tyres to get through to Q2. He's going to have the extra set, save a set for the next session. Sometimes you use up all your tyres getting out of Q1 and 2, get to Q3 and you've just got that single set to work with. Can be useful to have an extra set of tyres in the garage. That's why we saw so many of the drivers do their fast time on a medium. They're holding on to that extra set of softs for when the business end of qualifying does arrive. Of course, just the 16 drivers, Stoffel eliminated early on. I think we should have 15 drivers going through. Cowboy has not set a lap time. This is the end of his out lap. It'll be his first timed lap of the evening and the last driver to set a timed lap. So the Mercedes gets all the attention from the broadcast. Into turn 1. Of course, this track fell into horrible disrepair. The A1 ring, after its owners basically went bankrupt. The track didn't have an owner for a while. It was in terrible shape. That's when Red Bull decided to bring the track back to life and get it on the F1 calendar. First thing they did was get it on the MotoGP calendar, and then it was a year or two later they got it back on the F1 calendar. The Red Bull Ring, of course, in Austria. Many of you think of Austria as the birthplace of Red Bull. No, it's not even sort of. It's not the birthplace of Red Bull. In fact, Thailand is the birthplace of Red Bull. So now those official results. Of course, a lot of these drivers just set the one lap time and left. So Shane, fastest man in the session, he's followed by Quibus, then Levy, Nick Gishin, Zero2Cool, Dan Ritfeld, Panda, Secret, Will and Rota. That's your top 10. P11, J-Boy, then Wezo, Namassassin, Cowboy and Kev making up the top 15. And Stoffel set no lap time, and I don't expect to see him until the race. Hopefully we get all 15 drivers in this next session. Like I said, we have seen occasions with just the 14 drivers, and I'm not sure how the game works it out. We shouldn't have any surprises. And indeed we do have 15 drivers. So of course, there wasn't too much to play for in Q1. The drivers that know they're at the top of the field, well, they know they're at the top of the field. They know they're quick. They know they can go around and not give it their everything and go through to Q2. Of course, eliminating that extra risk when you're on the absolute edge. A mistake is never far away. But this time round, drivers are going to have to take things a little bit more seriously. It's at the end of 14 minutes now, we will lose 5 drivers. Cowboy has already retired. I believe that means he will start no higher than P15, because he's not going to get a lap. He's retired right in the beginning. I don't know if he left the pits or if he retired in the pits. Cowboy will take no further part, so that means we're down to 14 drivers. Cowboy's eliminated, that means we can just lose a further 4. First priority, your only priority in this session, is be in the top 10. Of course, you can top Q1, you can top Q2, it all counts for nothing. It's about who's going to top Q3. It means you're starting in the front. You're going to have a clear racetrack into turn 1. It's up to you to hold on to that position. Some drivers, they can utilize that pole position, get into turn 1 first. Other drivers don't get the best start. Sort of like Lando Norris. He's never led at the end of lap 1 in a race he started from pole. No lap times, but the Kick Selbers would love to take a screenshot of those timing sheets, because at the moment it's Selber P1 and 2, regardless of there being no lap times. Zero to Cool gets the first lap time in, and it's a 1:05.0 straight away. Those were the quickest lap times we saw in Q1. So drivers already ramping up to those sort of speeds very early on. Now we're going to see the first of the Selbers over the line. It's 1:05.6. Lots of 1:05s. When are we going to get the first 1:04? And there's your answer. First 1:04 of the evening. It's a 1:04.5. So it's not even a high 1:04. It's right in there. Straight into the mid 1:04s. And who's got the answer? Who's got the next 1:04? I assure you, there will be more. This is Rota. Nick Gishin. No, he's one of the quicker drivers. Goes over the line into P2. That is the second 1:04 of the evening, 1:04.6. Just a tenth of a second is the difference between P1 and 2. Those Ferraris just been something else. Of course, that is the championship standings. Still tight. Shane does have a slight advantage at the moment, but we know how quickly things can change in a season. As for the Constructors' Championship, well, Ferrari, that's called dominance. The only Red Bull here tonight, 1:05.3, would usually be a really good lap time, but in this field, he's still got a lot of work to do if he wants to get higher up the field. We now have 3 drivers in the 1:04s. Shane's still the quickest of those drivers, but it's a 1:04.5, 1:04.6, 1:04.7. 2/10 of a second covered the top 3. Shane, Levy, Nick Gishin. Then a further 3/10 of a second back, 0 to Cool in P4. Then Dan Ritfeldt, close behind Secret, even closer behind Quibus, P7. So all of these times really close together, and don't read too much into that timing sheet. Things are going to change so much before the end of quali. You also need to remember some of these drivers, they're going to make mistakes. They're really quick, but they'll make a mistake on this first run. It might not look too impressive, and then on the second run jump up the timesheets. You can practice all you want, but if you get it wrong in Q3, well, you're going to start at the rear of the field in a very quick field. You're going to give yourself a difficult evening. This is Nam Assassin, one of the RBs, coming into the pits. As soon as I go to the car, he goes into the pits. This is Kev. No lap time from him yet. Good evening, Boinkies. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to DRS. Of course, we started with the 16 drivers. We lost that one driver in Q1, sorry. We lost Cowboy immediately as we started the session. Almost seemed like to me he retired in the pits at the start of the session. It was just too quick. So we've lost one driver already. We will lose another 4 at the end of this session. 8 minutes to go. And Kev needs to get a lap time on the screen just so he can start to feel a little bit more comfortable about this session. But that first lap time's not going to make him too happy. It's a 106.0. Currently not safe outside the top 10 in P12. Monkey's missing the race due to working late. I'm sure you'd rather be out on track than watching it. Red Bull Ring in Austria. Spielberg. Of course, the original circuit was not here. It was across the road from this circuit. It was initially an airfield. And when Austria initially wanted F1, F1 was like, well, we can't race on that. So they built a race circuit across the road. But initially, the Österreicher Ring was not where you see it today. Quibus in P7. .3 for the man in P7, Quibus. Lots of drivers in the pits at the moment. Will on an outlap. Seems to have that pattern. Quibus goes out, Will goes out a lap later. So we have the 2 Ferraris followed by the 2 Williams. Shane Levy, Nick Gishin, 0 to cool. Then an Alpine of Dan Redfeld, the solitary Red Bull of Secret. And the first of the Aston Martins, Quibus, Rota P8, Wezo P9. You're looking at Will. He's currently in P10. Currently safe, but it's serious risk. Panda in P11, another driver at risk. He sits in the pits at the moment, as does J-Boy and Kev. All 3 of those drivers could find themselves eliminated if they don't go out on track and do something about those lap times. Do something to improve. Got to dig deep into your pockets, find every single tenth of a second that you can. These lap times are close throughout. Getting 2 or 3 tenths could mean the difference between 4 or 5 positions. This is Nam Assassin coming into the pits, and at the moment still far from safe in P14. 2 Ferraris, comfortable as can be. They've retired from the session, both in the 104s. Grivis has also popped one into the 104s, one of only 4 drivers to do so. If the stream doesn't look good, I do apologize if the stream doesn't look good. Just try and do a refresh on your side. I can tell you that when SAFRL returns next week, I'm going to be moving this stream onto a better computer. And then I should be able to broadcast this in a much better quality. Sometimes I just got to reduce the quality a little bit to ensure that the broadcast doesn't turn into a buffer disaster. Dan Redfeld, I haven't spoken too much about him. He's in the Alpine, one of 2 Alpines here this evening. Kev in the other one. Kev is at risk down in P13. Dan Redfeld in P6. He's currently safe in the low 105s, looking to join the 104 club. Only 4 drivers in that 104 club so far. All of those drivers relatively close, 0.3 of a second, cover the first 2 rows of the grid. Actually now the top 5 have all retired from the session, so all of those drivers comfortable. Drivers lower down in the top 10, well, they won't be retiring anytime soon, they're far from comfortable. And Levy, not only has he retired, he's left the session. Hopefully he is able to rejoin before we get to Q3. He's able to take control of that car and set some lap times. He's done all the work he needed to do up until this point, so let's hope we see his name pop up again. We've got a purple sector 2 for Wezo in the Kick Sauber. Has he backed off? Not sure. We've got a caution there in sector 1 and 3. And Wezo over the line. That's his teammate just behind him. Good advertisement for the Sauber team. 2 cars line astern. Almost a picture moment. Of course, I think everybody watching has been here many times before, but if it is your first visit to the channel, or if you haven't subscribed yet, remember to subscribe. That way, if I ever forget to share the link, you'll always get a notification when DRS does go live on a Thursday night. Of course, 7:30. This is the penultimate round. And there we go, confirmation Levy has rejoined. Boy, he's saying that there was a Mexico race with 1080. I have gone up and down with the quality, and it just seems like sometimes my computer can handle it and sometimes it can't. And if I remember correctly, 2 weeks ago I had a disaster stream, and I thought, let me just turn these settings down a little. Laptop can't quite handle it. It's time to move over to the PC. I'll do that over the course of the weekend. The only thing that puts me off is every single little graphic you see on your screen. Everything that I've done basically on the channel and that I've streamed on the channel has been done on this laptop, so I need to now transfer all of that stuff to the other computer. That's what's going to take the longest, but should be done by the end of the weekend. Of course, they say SAFRL returns on Monday night for a new season. And of course, lots in the comment section were asking for it to return, and when would it return? It's returning on Tuesday night. The League v League. Fortunately, as I understand it, DRS will not be partaking in the League v League this time around, but we still have the 4 leagues that were represented last time out. Well, you might still be able to join. Well, Boinkies is going to attempt to join this race, so if we suddenly see his name pop up, of course we won't see it pop up because he won't take part in Q2 or Q3. But once we get to the race, we might find an extra name at the rear of the field. Maybe it's not the worst place to start, at the rear of the field. Things could get messy up front. Very quick drivers. I think there's going to be a little bit of aggression up front. So your top 10 drivers going through to Q3. 2 Ferraris P1 and 2 again, Shane and Levy. Then Nick Gishin in P3, Quibus P4, Secret P5. Then we've got Zero to Cool, Dan Redfeld, Panda, Rota, and Will. Eliminated from the session, from qualifying rather, Wezo, J-Boy, Kev, Namassassin, and Cowboy, who retired almost immediately as Q2 began. Boinky's making all sorts of excuses now as to why he cannot race. Something about having to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning. That sounds terrible. Getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Maybe you should just stay awake. I would just stay awake. It sounds easier than waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Already some drivers out on track. You can see the action as the qualifying sessions go on. Q1, very quiet start to the session. We were almost following 2 cars around for the first 5 minutes. It was basically the 2 Aston Martins out on track. Q2, a lot busier in the early stages. And now, as you can see, more than half of the field, or at least half of the field, already out on track. Early days, but everyone wants to get that first run in. Remember, as the sessions progress, they get shorter. So Q3, the shortest of the qualifying sessions, just 12 minutes. There's no longer 12 minutes, there's just over 10.5 minutes remaining. So if you make a mistake on that first run, really need to have all the time you can get with the tarmac. That's why the drivers are going out so early, that if things don't work out according to plan, they're going to have enough time to try and fix it. But thanks for the feedback, Boinkies. I appreciate it. But I think it should be a little better when we move to a much more powerful computer than my laptop is trying to be a powerful computer. Well, it once was a powerful computer, I just think I've killed it. So no lap times yet. Q3, 9.5 minutes remain in the session. Of course, any sort of mistake, the lap is gone. Could get impeded by traffic. Could run over the white lines, invalidate the lap. So much can go wrong. That's why the drivers are all out on track. All 10 drivers out on track. Early days. Zero to Cool, straight into the 104s. Then a 105.0 for Shane. We know he can go quicker than that. He was 5/10 quicker than that in the session prior to this one. Then Panda 105.3. So the 3 drivers around Now we're still driving with Will. No lap time from him yet. He's approaching the end of his lap. Secret goes quickest, 104.7. We've seen quicker lap times than this in Q2. So the driver's not giving it their absolute everything. They're not on their absolute edge just yet. If you thought the sandbagging would stop in Q3, I think it's only going to stop in their final run. Boinkies, what's that? What? You've done two races. Two races of what? Of course, some Boinkies, you must let me know, and Panda must let me know, anybody else that's in the comment section. Of course, if you drive in DRS and you can't join the comms box, but if I'm ever on an SAFRL race or an SKR race and you'd like to join the comms box, come on and join the comms box. Watch a race together, comment on a race together. You've commentated on two races. And how was your experience? You know, my commentary started on one very drunk Friday evening. There was a bunch of guys doing 5-lappers, and somebody said that I talk so much, I could probably be a good commentator. So they dared me to commentate on the next 5-lap race, so I sat out, I didn't drive, and I did some commentary for them, and they thought it was awesome. They asked me to commentate in the league. And since then, I think I've been doing more commentary than driving, especially on this game. Winky's saying he needs a few refreshers before he's going to be able to loosen up his English. Of course, I have commentated with many co-commentators, not many on this channel though. Of course, we opened the channel in late January. I think we've just had the one co-commentator, and that was once. Of course, he never went on to buy the F124 game, so we're still waiting for the return of Panda City to the channel. Said he would be back at some stage. Who knows, in the near future we might have Boinkies here in the comms box. Maybe I can convince Shane to come sit in the comms box now and then. This is Nick Gishin going around the final corner. Very nicely done, straight into the 104s, 104.6. Quibus got a 104.5, so that's pretty close to the quickest time we've had this evening. Shane's back out on track. He's not going to be happy with that first run at all. In the mid 104s in Q2, came up with a 105.0 in Q3, and remember, this is the session that counts. Doesn't matter if you top Q2 with a 1:03. It's who's going to top this session. That's what counts. Shane into the pits, so no improvement for now. 105.0. I think that was his second run. Decided to come into the pits, put on a fresh set of tires and go out again. That is the advantage you get for saving tires through qualifying. Get those extra sets in Q3 if you have a messy Q3 and you need an extra set. Of course, if you use all of them to try and get this far, then you're just stuck with the one set. Not much you can do. You get the one run, and if it goes wrong, well, it's as good as a one-shot quali. In fact, it's a little bit more annoying than a one-shot quali because you still got to do an outlap and an in-lap. At least the one-shot quali, if you mess it up, the AI just takes the car back to the pits. Using all of the racetrack, I'm not sure what that was, but we saw some polystyrene exploding there on the exit of the final corner for Levy, currently in P9, 105.6. We saw the Ferraris topping the sessions so far, but not looking fantastic in Q3 just yet. The top of those Ferraris is Shane in P5, 105.0, then a 105.6 for Levy. You know, he's got so much more than that. Of course, nobody in the comment section has mentioned anything about the weather, so I presume we will be having a dry race. Just to remind you, I did use the word presume. I have been shocked many times by that opening screen. Whoever's looking good in quali, 104.5, followed by Nick Gishin, 104.6, then Secret, 104.7, Zero to Cool, 104.8, Dan Redfeld, 104.9. We've literally got one of each tenth. Very nicely done by the drivers at the front. Then Shane, on a 105.0, just on the wrong side of that 104 club, 2 thousandths of a second outside of it. But he doesn't just want a high 104, that's not going to be enough. He needs to get into the mid 104s. Let's just bring up his telemetry. We can get a better idea of what he's doing. He's charged up that battery, which means he's getting ready. This will be probably his final run. Doubt he's got enough fuel in the car for 2 laps. This will be his final attempt. This will be all cards on the table. If there was any sandbagging up until this point, all of that goes out the window. All the sandbags get pulled out of the side pods. The car gets as light as it possibly can. As little fuel as you need to get around the track. I've even seen some drivers put in so little fuel that on the in-lap, they know they're going to run out of fuel on the in-lap. They just sacrifice it. Shane in sector 2 now. Does go quicker than his previous best. Not the fastest of the session, but it is quicker than his previous best by 0.2 of a second. So an improvement is on the cards. No point in peeling into the pits at this stage. Not much time left. Whatever the improvement is, going to have to be happy with it, and it's a good improvement. It's a 104.4. And goodness me, look at the times at the front. I said there was a tenth of each. Now we've got a 104.4, 5, 5, 7, 8, 9, 9. And then Rota on a 105.0, but unfortunately he can't improve because he's retired. Will also 105.1. So even the drivers that aren't in the 104s, they're awfully close to the 104s. Just Levy. He hasn't really found his way just yet in this final qualifying session. It's right up there with his teammate in the previous 2. But he's left things as late as can be. Went over the start-finish line with just a handful of seconds remaining on the clock. So this will be his final run. Of course, you can finish the lap as long as you cross that checkered flag before the timer ran out. He did so. But if he is going to take pole position away from his teammate, he's going to have to find an entire 0.8 of a second. He has one purple in sector 2, so keep your eyes on the Ferrari. We'll go on board with him in the closing stages of the lap. Just the penultimate corner and the final corner to go. Just want to clip the apex on the inside, use all of the racetrack on the outside, and over the start finish line. Where will this put the Ferrari? Onto the second row. Would have been wanting more. But with the lap times being so close, a 104.6, only good enough for 4th place. Anyone else still out on track? No one else still out on track. Everybody has crossed the checkered flag. So now we will just wait for the session to come to the end, read you your official results, and get this race underway. Pointy saying he enjoys the mixed weather. Personally, I love the mixed weather. Of course, I don't mind a wet race from start to finish. But the best sort of races, you have to go from inters to wets, back to inters. Just interchanging conditions, nothing predictable, constantly changing. It really makes the drivers think. There are your official results, at least for the top 10. That'll be your starting order. Shane and Nick Ishin, they're going to be on the front row. Then Kubis and Levy line up on the second row. They're followed by Secret in P5, Zero to Cool in P6. Then Panda, P7, Dan Ritfeld, P8, Rotha, P9, and Will, making up the top 10. Of course, I see a few of you are watching, and we've got almost no likes on the video, so remember to leave a like on the video. Promise, it's absolutely free. Just leave a like, it helps out the channel. It ensures that more people get to see our videos. Well, at least it'll pop up on their timeline. I'm not sure if they'll click on it or not. But your likes can help us get that first step done. Now we look at the pit lane one final time. An empty pit lane, an abandoned pit lane. So all the cars are to the right hand side of your screen. Drivers getting prepared, doing final preparations. What tyre are you going to start the race on? Are you going to take the risk of underfueling? In anticipation of safety cars. Of course, will weather play a part? I have no idea. We should get the dual green lights. We do. That is just confirmation of a formation lap. Of course, this will give drivers an opportunity to feel these cars with the much fuller race tank that they've got now. Of course, in quali, that car will have been as light as it possibly could be. No more refueling in F1 for many years now. These cars need to finish the race with the fuel in the car. So cars have to start off very, very heavy. Of course, that's actually something I missed from F1 in the 90s. You could start on a very heavy fuel load, or you could start on a very light fuel load. It was all up to you how many times you wanted to refuel during the race. And sometimes you'd see a situation where a very, very slow team would lead the first few laps of the race, purely because they had almost no fuel in the car. But at least it was good for the cameras, good for the excitement. Race strategies suggesting a 1-stop or a 2-stop. All of those strategies will go out of the window if we get any rain, if we get any safety cars, and of course if you as a driver get any damage. Well, that initial strategy, you can scrap it. This is a lovely camera angle, thank you F124. There's no way I can see the red lights from here, but at least I can hear them. 5 red lights, they'll go off any moment now. We don't know when they will, we'll just see when the cars pull off, and there we go. So I assume the lights are out. Hopefully we'll get a better camera angle than we do. Up the hill into turn 1, Shane leads the way, and there's already been contact. I think there's already been contact further back. Did both those drivers get through the corner? Appears they did. Damage minimized. But Lebby, already, is he missing an end plate? Let's have another look at that Ferrari. I think there was contact between the Aston Martin and the Ferrari. At first I thought it was the Mercedes, but we only have one Mercedes out on track and he's at the rear of the field. That's Cowboy. I think it had to be an Aston Martin that made contact with the second Ferrari in the field. Not how you want to get things going. As for the other Ferrari, plain sailing. At the lead of the race, Nick Gishen in P2. We've seen races actually in the previous season. We saw some intense racing between Shane and Nick Gishen. Depending on the race circuit, depending on the night, some of these drivers can just match each other lap after lap. In fact, there's one race I always refer back to between Shane and Nick Gishen. They started P1 and 2 on the grid, raced each other for the entirety of a race, staying within each other's DRS for approximately, I'd say about 90% of the race. DRS train broke with about 5 laps to go. Other than that, they were together throughout. There's also another race where they finished 0.05 of a second apart. So while Lebby finds himself at the rear of the field because he had to make a very early unwanted pit stop, the other Ferrari at the top of the field said it was plain sailing, but it's not quite yet plain sailing. A lot of quick drivers behind him. His first task, break DRS. As long as those cars behind you are within a second, they get that DRS advantage. Then the Red Bull and the Williams going wheel to wheel. Williams has to go off track, goes wide. That'll probably be his first warning of the race. Of course, you get 3 warnings, you start to pick up penalties in 3-second increments. 3, 6, 9 and so on. Those can pile up really quickly. We've seen some nasty collections by the end of a race. We've seen 15, 18 and even more. And of course, if it's a pit infringement, it's 10 seconds straight away. Point he's saying he always underfuels. You know, for a long time, at least in JPR, we had safety cars. Almost every night we had safety cars, and we had more than one. So I went through this period of underfueling and I thought I was very clever, and then we got to a race where not only was there no safety cars, there was no virtual safety cars, there was absolutely nothing, and with about 5 laps to go I could barely touch the throttle. Ever since that race I've been a bit skeptical of playing with my fuel too much. Of course, in previous iterations of the game, if you got towards the end of the race and you still had too much fuel, you could just flip the engine into rich, use that fuel up. The way the game currently works, if you start with too much fuel, you're going to end with too much fuel. You're going to have a slightly heavier car than your opponents. Following Nick Gishen at the moment, he's just behind the Ferrari, so it has not been plain sailing for the Ferrari. Said he needed to break DRS, he's failed to do so. That gap's fallen from 0.7 of a second, which it was on the last lap, to just 0.3 of a second. This time Nick Gishen's going to open up DRS and he's going to have an opportunity to go at that Ferrari. He decides not to this time around. Just stays behind the Ferrari a little bit longer. Follows Shane around. Thought he was going to follow him for a little bit longer than that, but he's gone for it. The Williams goes into the lead of the race and the Aston Martin gets awfully close. Shane almost losing 2 positions in one corner. But luckily, sanity prevails. Purvis would have seen that opportunity and for a brief moment he would have thought about it. Just thought better of it. hold on to P3 for now. The mistakes will come. You just need to be close enough to capitalize when they do. Shane and Nick Gishin, they're racing on the absolute edge. P1 and 2. Shane has actually retaken the lead of the race, so Nick Gishin led briefly. Secret P4. Those 4 cars in a race of their own, then about 3 seconds adrift from them. You will find Dan Rietveld in P4. Having a bit of a lonely race really. He's 3 seconds away from Secret ahead and 2.5 seconds ahead of Panda or Will behind. So Dan Rietveld in a lonely race. And in fact throughout the midfield we've got some pretty big gaps this early on. 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, 4.2 seconds. So some very big gaps early on, and we've just seen more carbon fiber. We've just seen more carbon fiber. Couldn't identify what car that was. Of course we can't see from this angle. Let's just try and have a look at the 4 cars involved. The Williams appears to have both of its end plates. We've got a virtual safety car. Something's happened on the race circuit. We haven't seen it. It hasn't triggered a full safety car. But we're on a virtual safety car. This will neutralize the race. Rota has retired from the session. So there is your answer. There is your reason for the virtual. Hopefully he remains in the lobby. Reminder to all drivers, if you are listening, please try to stay in the lobby till the end of the race. I have seen in past occasions it can affect the other drivers. As I say that, he leaves the lobby. So thank you, Rota. It doesn't seem like we have any other instability in the lobby. Everybody's still there. So we're down to 16 drivers. Nick Gishin from Kurbis, from Shane. Where did the carbon fiber come from? I'm still trying to get a look at these top 4. That camera angle's not going to help me either. Does everyone have their end plates? And there's your answer. The Red Bull missing its front left end plate. Is he going to pit? Surely he's going to pit. Of course, he was really competitive in those opening laps. Able to stay with those 3 cars ahead. Never really challenged for the lead, but without a wing, he's going to find it very difficult to stay with those cars ahead of him. But he's chosen not to pit. He's going to stay out there. Virtual safety car has come to an end. And I think Secret is just going to find himself falling back. It's a high-speed race circuit. You're going to need all the end plates you've got. All the aerodynamics on that car. Anything missing, car becomes a handful to drive. These F1 cars are designed to work in a very particular way. You remove one part, and all of a sudden, things don't feel quite right. Pointy's just confirming, yes, Red Bull have the damage. So we see Secret falling off really quickly. Remember, he was on the back of those 3 cars. He's lost 1.8 seconds in the space of a lap. Now 2 seconds. Just saw him lose 2/10 through that left-hander. That's the difference that little piece of carbon fiber can make. Does he come into the pits? No, he doesn't. He chooses to stay out. Surely he can't be thinking of keeping that original medium run. Maybe he wants to keep the pit window he intended to have, but he's going to lose an incredible amount of time doing it. Kurbis leads the way, not for much longer. Nick Gishin challenges, goes around the outside before they get to the corner, retakes the lead of the race, and now it's a traction battle. Briefly I thought Shane had the advantage on traction, but Kurbis comes across the racetrack, blocks the path of the Ferrari, defends his P2 as he should. For all it's worth, first penalty of the day down the order, that's for Dan. In fact, I thought Secret was the only Red Bull on track. I think Dan squeezed in here at the last moment, or I never saw him in qualifying at all. But we do have 2 Red Bulls, only one of them in the points. Dan down in P14 with that penalty next to his name. We should still see more penalties before the end of this race. Trust me, this track can get tricky when you're pushing as hard as you can. That's when mistakes creep in. Top 3 been inseparable. Nikishin, Kurbis, Shane. I think this time Kurbis goes to the front. So everyone here in the top 3 has had a chance to lead this race. Namassassin has retired from the race. And where earlier on we got a virtual safety car to neutralize the race, this time around get a full safety car, the first of the evening, and hopefully the last. Of course, who this will annoy the most is those 3 at the front. Of course, they had quite an advantage on the rest of the field. They were building their race, they were in a race of their own. Assassin has also left the lobby. So both RB drivers out of the race. Ooh, and you've lost a bit of carbon fiber on your way into the pits. I think that is Shane. I wonder if he broke his wing. We're not going to get a better camera angle than this once he's in the pits, but we did see carbon fiber flying. There is no wing change, so I hope he's got all his end plates attached to the car. Just have a look at that Ferrari. There was contact on the pit entry. Nuclear Monkey asking if I want to practice. Just saw that on the top right hand side of your screens. Unfortunately, I am streaming. And you're obviously not subscribed to the channel, otherwise you'd know that. Shame on you. My teammate is not subscribed to NFR. Try and get a better look at the Ferrari. Boinky saying that the Ferrari has damage. I haven't noticed it just yet. Isn't an end plate. There's definitely carbon fiber flying around on the entry. And there we go, confirmation. Right hand side end plate missing on that wing. And we saw with Secret how quickly you lose time with a broken wing, and this has just caught Shane out at a very bad time. Obviously he broke that wing on his way into the pits. The team did not respond to the broken wing. They didn't change it, they left it on the car. Now the field has tightened up, they're all together. If he does come in, change the wing, it's going to come out at the rear of the field. If he does stay out, what is his hopes of holding on to that position for much longer? Welcome to Pantry Star, good to have you in the comment section. One of the quicker drivers that we broadcast on. Not on the grid this evening. Good to have you here. Virus also coming into the stream. Of course you missed quali, but good to have you here for the race. It's great to see the familiar names coming back to the channel. Of course, this is the penultimate round here at DRS. Just one round to go after this. I think I need to switch off notifications on my PlayStation. So J-Boy leads the way. Quibus P2, then Nick Gishin, followed by Shane. Dan Ritfeldt in P5. Panda, P6, Will. Then Stoffel, Secret, Wezo. That's going to be the order at the restart. It's a very difficult position now for both Ferraris. Remember, they started P1 and 4 after topping the sessions in Q1 and 2. Looked really dominant. They weren't able to repeat those performances in Q3. Shane did start from pole, Levy started in P4, but Levy got contact in turn 1 with one of the Aston Martins, lost an end plate, had to come into the pits at the end of lap 1, found himself at the rear of the field. Second Ferrari was doing really well at the front, battling with the top 3. Initially it was the top 4, Secret fell off, it became the top 3. Now I don't know how much longer Shane's going to be able to hold on to that position with that broken wing. Does not come into the pits. Safety car does come into the pits. And we're back underway. J-Boy will lead at the restart. Kurbis will be in P2. Nick Gish in P3. And the damaged Ferrari in P4. And you can already see there, just running wide on the exit of turn 1. 1, 2, 3 cars going by. And the Ferrari falling down the field. Slotting in behind his fellow Ferrari-powered Haas. It's just going to be so difficult to get that car turned, and now even more damage. Even more damage. That Ferrari has seen contact. Levy was the Ferrari at the back. Now Shane is the Ferrari at the back. J-Boy leads at the front, Kurbis P2, Nick Gish in P3. Nick Gish and Kurbis, they've been up front throughout the race. J-Boy a new addition to that pack. Of course, J-Boy has not made a pit stop, that's why he's slightly out of sync with everybody. He's running wide there on the final corner, it's cost him a couple of positions. He was leading not so long ago, now down into P3. Kurbis back into the lead of the race. He has led the race already multiple times. He's just trading places between himself, Nick Gishin and Shane. Shane is no longer part of that party. Secret is no longer part of that party. Safety car has come out. Some of the cars made pit stops, some of them have not. And that has just mixed up this entire field. But in the initial stages, looked advantage Kurbis, Nick Gishin and Shane. Two of those cars still very much at the front. As for the Ferraris, P1 and 2 in the Drivers' Championship, Constructors winners. Not the race they were expecting. P10, P14. See, some more people have joined the stream, some more people are watching, but the comment section is still quiet. So if you're here and you haven't made yourself known, say hello in the comment section, let me know you're here. Give me predictions for the end of the race. What do you think our top 3 is going to look like? It's really difficult to tell at the moment, because between Kurbis and Nick Gishin, they keep on trading places. No one wants to lead the race. It's a after you situation. Now, not much after you there, side by side. 3-second time penalty for Kev. That's not going to help him. He's already at the rear of the field, and now that's just going to make the situation that much worse. Kurbis, Nick Gishin, 0.3 of a second between the two. J-Boy was at the front of the field briefly. He's got 14 lap old hards. He's going to be feeling the effects of those hards falling off. Then Dan Rietveld, the top Alpine. Kurbis sets the fastest lap of the race, and look at that, it's probably quicker than my quali lap. It's a 106.8. Of course, we can still see though that fastest lap gets smashed if somebody goes onto the soft ride at the end, as we've seen many times before. And look at these overtakes. Look at these overtakes. We've been following the front for so long, but look at the action here. Dan Rietveld in a podium position and doing all he can to defend it, but while these squabble over P3, P1 and 2 will be laughing down the road. They just want to get away from the mess behind. Make it a race between the two of them. They've been able to break DRS, but then further back, Will has got a DRS train behind him that goes all the way down to P11. Marley's very quiet in the comment section. She says she's feeling the nerves. She's watching Quibus intensely. Well, so far, he has done everything that has been required of him. It hasn't been easy. At the beginning, it looked like Shane might have gotten away. Wasn't able to get away, got reeled back in. Had to trade places with Shane. Then he had to trade places with Nick Gishin. He's just traded places with him once more. Now Quibus' teammate could actually be coming into the fray. Will in P3. 2 seconds adrift, but he could catch up relatively quickly if these two continue to trade places. If that second Aston Martin does get up there, they could maybe work together, applying the pressure on this Williams for force Nick Gishin into some sort of a mistake. This is Quibus in P2. You're looking at the leader just ahead of you. Goes to the outside, and long before the corner ever arrives, he'll be out front. Closes the door on the inside, makes sure there's no way he's coming through. And now Nick Gishin gets the DRS and goes right back into the lead. Racing just so intensely close. How do you call a winner at this stage of the race? You simply can't. Either we're going to have a very tight race right till the end, or one of these drivers are going to have to fall off. They've just been matching each other lap after lap. Two Ferraris, both outside of the points, P11 and 12. Stoffel gets a 3-second time penalty, so the time penalties are starting to add up now. 4 of the drivers in the field with penalties that they're going to have to deal with at the end of the race. Nick Gishin and Quibus once again going side by side. Quibus out front for now. Both of these drivers doing very similar things. If you look at the battery consumption, that might also be why they're matching each other. I think you do, when you say conserve some energy so you can attack. I think the problem is if you do conserve some energy, you might lose an awful amount of time to the car ahead. Both of these guys on the absolute limit. They've been within DRS of each other pretty much throughout the race. They're still matching each other. Right in the beginning there were 4 cars that got away. 4 cars that were matching each other lap after lap. Those were Quibus, Nick Gishin, Shane and Secret. Secret was the first one to fall off. Then Shane fell off. Both of them as a result of wing damage. Now Levy picks up a 3-second penalty. So if he wasn't having a good day, it just got worse. He just made it a little bit more difficult for himself. Nick Gishin and Quibus side by side once again. And hopefully it doesn't end in tears. Using all of the racetrack on the outside. When you do that, you run such a risk of getting your tyres onto the gravel. You do that, and it could all be over. Kev has now retired from the session, and I was going to say hopefully it doesn't, but it does. Safety car, and these guys react as late as they possibly could. That thing came out just in time. The notification came out just in time for them to turn right aggressively and come into the pits. Some very quick thinking between those two. Out front, Will and Panda chose not to pit. They've only done 10 laps on those hards. Still a lot of life to go in those hards. Of course, this is the second safety car. Now, Boinky's saying they were lucky. It was quite an extreme pull the car to the right. I thought they might still pick up some sort of penalty for crossing the line that aggressively, but that does not seem to be the case. Seems like they both squeezed in. Had that safety car notification come up one corner later, they would have had to do an entire lap slowly while the rest of the field all had a chance to pit. We would have had a very different timing sheet. But things worked out for the leaders. I think every time there's a safety car, I'm going to tell you to go and like the video, because nobody's listening. Nobody's liking the video. Of course, remember that next week, Monday, SAFRL will return, and on Tuesday, the League v League Championship will also return. This time around in a much longer format. Last time we just had the 3 rounds. This time it's going to be a 12-round season. Thank you, Boinky says, like the video. Will leads the way, Panda P2. Gishin, Kurbis. Remember, Nick Gishin and Kurbis, they were the two that were, what did Vettel used to call it? Playing ping pong. They are now in P3 and 4. I'm almost certain that they will continue to race that closely for the remainder of the race, but now they've got 2 cars ahead of him. Those are the 2 cars that decided not to pit. Majority, I'd say the rest of the field has made a pit stop. Shane stayed out on his hards, Dan stayed out on his hards. Levy and Secret stayed out on their relatively fresh mediums. The rest of the field has pit with the exception of P1 and 2. They're on 11 lap old hards. Those tyres will still have a lot of life in them, but I don't think they're going to have much punch against all the fresh sets of mediums behind them. Crucial here at the restart. The tyres are cold, but remember those softer compounds are going to get tyre temperature a lot quicker than you. So starting on the hards, the first 2 laps are going to be absolutely crucial. Into turn 1 in the lead, out of turn 1 in the lead. Will, followed by Panda, followed by Nick, followed by Kurbis, then Dan Ritveldt. Those 2 were getting away at the front. Safety cars brought everybody back together again. Now Panda. Panda goes to the front. Nick Gishin looking to get involved. It's an arm wrestle. Get your elbows out. Hopefully it doesn't end in tears. I've said that more than once this stream. That's because I mean it. Williams into the lead of the race. It's Nick Gishin. Cars going wide. Cars going 3 wide into a corner that shouldn't fit 3 cars. And is that Kurbis around the outside? I believe it is. Does he hang on? Yes, he does. And there has been contact. There has been contact. And Panda coming off second best in that contact. Hopefully for him, no damage to the car. Not that we can see. So the horse will be back on its way. Just lost a few positions in the process. He'll probably be a little annoyed. Nick Gishin leads from Kurbis. The gap 0.8 of a second. Actually, that's the biggest the gap has been in quite some time. Then Will in P3. Dan Ritveldt P4. course, with the field being this close together, penalties play an even bigger part in the race. Find yourself with 6 seconds worth of penalties in a field this close, could destroy your result. Seen drivers that have had a disastrous race to drive back to a points paying position only to lose those points because of a penalty. We've seen drivers lose podium positions because of penalties. Of course, we've even seen drivers lose race wins because of penalties. So crucial to stay out of that penalties column. Something man in the comment section will know about. Boinkies. I have seen him pick up penalties once or twice, actually recently, but in general, Boinky's very good on the penalties, and it has elevated his results on many occasions, just letting the drivers around him make the mistakes. Dan Rietveld, Boinky's saying that Dan Rietveld, the car is having a few issues. Let's just have a look at the Alpine, if it's ghosting at all. There we go, there is just a bit of jumping, you saw that into, and there it is again. It's just a jumpy car, maybe that's just his internet connection playing up, hopefully it sorts itself out. Can be quite difficult. To drive with a car that's jumping around a little bit, especially when you're looking for that overtake and you're not quite sure where that car is. You might go to the inside and the car could suddenly appear on the inside. It just puts second thoughts in the back of your head when it comes to motor racing, and in particular Formula 1. You can't have any second thoughts in your head. It's all about commitment. I think it was Ayrton Senna that once said, when you're on the race circuit you should only be concentrating on two things. Where is my braking point, and where is the apex? And then you start over again. Where is the braking point? Where is the apex? That's the only two things you should ever be looking at. For these drivers at the front, the race goes by so quickly. You might not notice it here on the stream if you're watching, but I assure you, if you're in one of these race-long DRS battles, the race can go by so quickly. You're only going to feel tired at the end of it. While you're racing, you don't feel tired. The adrenaline kicks in. The competitive nature comes out. You forget about the laps, you forget about the time, and when you do look up, you go, what? Already? It's almost over. When you're having a terrible race, well, then it feels like a 200% distance race. It just doesn't want to end. At some point you may even drive into a wall just to end the whole thing, and then your car doesn't even want to brake. You can't manage to break the wheel off. You're just stuck. Will admit I have done that once. I was having such a terrible race that I decided I was going to drive into a wall and end it all. And the car, well, it held together. All I managed to do was break a front wing. But on other occasions I've clipped a wall, and that was that. At the front, I can't keep saying it. I keep on repeating myself. It's deja vu. They continue to trade places, and in the words of Sebastian Vettel, what are we doing here? Racing or ping pong? At the moment, it's ping pong. Just 8 laps to go, And I'm no closer to telling you who's going to win this race. Wanky's saying long DRS train. It most certainly is a long DRS train. Look at that, all the way down to P11, from the lead down to P11. And fittingly so, one of the longest DRS trains you'll ever see, and it's in a league called, you guessed it, DRS. Lap 29 of 36. I can't keep on saying they go side by side. I'm going to lose my voice. And if you've ever heard me once I've lost my voice, you'll understand why I can't do commentary when I lose my voice. As you'll be surprised, it gets much deeper. Pantry Star, the first brave enough to put a prediction on the board. Of course, guys, give me more predictions. Marlies, I know who your money's on. Marlies watching intensely, watching quietly. We haven't heard from her. We've just got 3 comments out of her in a 1.5 hour stream. That means she's watching the man in P1. And she's going to have to keep our eyes on him a little bit longer because this is far from decided. The Williams goes back to the inside, does he? Aston Martin closes the door, says not quite yet, sir. You're going to have to fight a little bit more hard than that. Dan Ritfeld takes over from Nick Gish and he's now in P2. Goes towards the outside, thought about it. Just was no space. And is that what just happened there? Somebody ghosted for a second. Let's have a look at the car of Kurbis. Is that car okay? Seems to be okay. I just thought I saw 2 cars ghosting there for a second. Maybe it's Dan Ritfeld's internet playing up. We did see the car just jerking around a little bit a few laps ago. Keep your eyes on that Alpine, especially if you're Nick Gish. Now you're the car behind. The car that's misbehaving slightly, can be slightly off-putting. Just there, you can just see the car ahead of him just jumping around on the race circuit. Makes you second guess, is he really doing that, or is it the internet doing it for him? But Dan Ritfeld has taken over the lead of the race, and again, almost looks like the Aston Martin ran into him, but he just ghosted at the right moment. Something not quite right there with the Alpine, but in terms of race, it's exactly where he wants to be. Kurbis down to P2. And Ritfeld leads the way. This is a view we don't see too much during the broadcast because I always forget to use it, but it's such an awesome view. This is the rear camera angle from your leader, Dan Ritfeld. That's what 0.4 of a second looks like. The Aston Martin of Kurbis just behind. We're going to stay with this angle because Kurbis is going to get DRS and you're going to see the advantage of DRS. Look how close he gets into turn 1. He was nowhere near the leader coming out of the penultimate corner, almost 0.6 of a second, and now he gets a second taste of DRS, and this time round it's enough to go into the lead of the race one more time in this race. Don't know how many times he's had to take the lead of the race. He's probably taken the lead of the race in this race more than I've taken the lead of the race in my entire racing career. All the commentary I've ever done, unfortunately I haven't learnt anything from these incredibly fast drivers. They've just made me realize how slow I really am. Kurbis leads the way. Half a second is the gap. Let's try to do that same camera angle again this time. Kurbis, Nick Gish behind the gap, 0.6 of a second. Now let's have a look what's that gap going to be by the end of turn 1. So it was 0.6. Look at that. 0.3 of a second. That's what one taste of DRS will do. What does do 2, taste of DRS do? There's your answer. Nick Gishin, back into the lead of the race. We have seen Dan Ritfeld ghost, I think, at least twice. Not sure what's going on with the Alpine, but we just saw it jump there in the background again. Of course, it's very difficult for the driver if the driver's not watching the stream, or if the driver's not in contact with the drivers around him. He won't know if he's lagging or not. Things will look perfect on his screen. On some occasions, it'll look like everybody else is lagging except for you. We've all had those bad internet nights. It's not something anyone wants to go through. Looking forward to your race at the end of the night, and then the internet jumps in and says, not so fast. Kurbis out front, Nick Gishin P2. Do they trade positions yet again? They go side by side, but he holds on to that outside line and wins the traction race. Kurbis stays out front. Zero to Pool's actually just set the fastest lap of the race. That's on a fresh set of soft tyres. He's currently outside of the points. He's going to have to make up 20 seconds if he wants to get himself into the points. I don't think those soft tyres are going to help him do it. But it will steal one potential point from someone else here in the top 10 that could have got a bonus. Nick Gishin, then Dan Ritfeld, then Kurbis. Kurbis probably further back than he'd like to be. Just right at the front for so long. Wonder if he's just cooked those tyres. Poinky's saying he remembers the Telkom days. Don't mention the Telkom days. When I first started racing online, the only internet I had was a I think it was a Telkom 4G wireless setup, and yeah, they guaranteed me that my area had 4G signal, and it did have 4G signal, but out of the 5 bars, only one was ever lit up. So let's just say getting disconnected between 2 and 3 times every single race was not fun, and I am very grateful for my fiber connection. Of course, in the extremely early days of my league racing, I even saw guys using their phone as a connection, and I can tell you it's not usually a good result. A lockup, a very bad lockup from the Alpine, almost into the side of Kurbis. I think there was contact, but no damage. Was there contact? There was a lot of smoke, and the cars were very close together. Kurbis led for a while, and now he's back to P3. And all 3 cars lock up. And there's madness. The Alpine just jumping around the race circuit. We don't really know where it is. Could be in P2, could be in P3, could be in the lead. We're not sure. At the moment, it's ghosting with the Williams. These are the final stages of the race, and things just looking a little complicated. Kurbis goes to the inside, forces the Williams wide. Nick Gishin picks up a penalty as a result, which means Kurbis will take that position away from Nick Gishin at the end. And Dan Ritfeld, well, a driver I didn't mention much in qualifying. Driver I didn't even mention that much in the race until the very final stint. But the results say enough. They say all that needs to be said. Dan Ritfeld goes on to win the race. Kurbis P2, Nick Gishin P3. And folks, That was quite the race. Driver of the day goes to Stoffel. Of course, he started right at the rear of the field. He never did a qualifying lap. After a brief look at the podium, let's just get through these results. Dan Rietveld taking the victory right at the end. Kurbis, what a race. Led the race so many times, landed up finishing P2. Nick Gishen should have been P2, got that penalty around the final corner. It's P3 for him. Then Wezo, Shane, followed by Stoffel, J-Boy, Lebby, Panda, and Will. Those are your top 10. Those are your points finishers. Then 0 to Cool 11, Cowboy 12, Dan, P13, Secret 14, and then we have DNFs from Kev, Nam Assassin, and Rota. Of course, Stoffel, P6, driver of the day. Dan Rietveld, Kurbis, and Nick Gishen, you're invited to the comms box. Can go to the NFR cool down room. Of course, it's not compulsory. If you choose to do so, you can come and have a little chat. We're just going to give the drivers 2 or 3 minutes, see if anybody wants to come in. Of course, if not, I will be back to say goodbye to all of yous if somebody does decide to join. Or we'll be back with 1 or 2 of the drivers.
Speeds won't look back, tires burn, hearts attack. 2024 ain't slack. Mountains are never fly by, crimson flags touch the sky. Champions reign, gonna die. Gripping the wheel, we try. Just drive the speeds alive. Just drive in the fire, we die. Just drive the thrill, survive. Just drive. Grit and sweat fuel the race. Nerves of steel, ain't no grace. Monaco to endless chase. Life and death embrace. Mountains of metal fly by. Crimson flags touch the sky. Champions reign, gonna die. Gripping the wheel, we try. Just drive the speeds alive. Just drive in the fire, we die. Just drive the thrill, survive. Just drive.
Okay, we do have, I believe it's Kurbis. Got Kurbis with us in the comments box. Kurbis, I don't know what to say. How many,
Yes, that was epic. So tight.
well, I think I can hear you twice. Let me just mute that.
Okay.
Oh, I can hear myself. There we go. There we go. That's better. What is your estimate there on how many times did you take the lead?
Jeez, I would say like 10 times at least.
It was
Back and forth from the start. Actually, I didn't understand why I was losing so much time on Nick the third last lap. And I actually saw I turned off my my battery to save it for the last 2 laps, and I just actually forgot to put it on.
I see. I just want to see if anybody else has joined. No. Actually, we had a very busy race start. Of course, there were 4 of you initially. It was yourself, Nick Gishen, Shane was involved, as well as Secret. Secret fell off with wing damage.
Yes.
Then Shane got damage of his own. But you guys continued to match each other. And then the safety car just brought a whole bunch of other cars into the equation.
Yeah, so me and Nick actually just got the safety car at the perfect time, so we can just dip into the pits at second time. I think we lost. I think we lost one of the guys. What's in the Ferrari on the first safety car? That was Shane.
I think the first there was a Ferrari right in the beginning of the race. There was contact in turn one.
Yes.
That was Levy, and then I think the first safety car was Shane. So,
Yeah.
but it was actually on stream. I was following you guys when the safety car notification came up, and you both like aggressively went to the right. It was like very quick thinking. But if that safety car had come out like a corner later, I think the result would have been a little different.
Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely.
Just want to check one more time if anybody else has decided to join, that I haven't abandoned them in the cooldown room. Luckily, I checked
No
just in
problem.
time because somebody's joined. Who is that? I think that's... Why is Discord hiding his name from me? It's Dan Ritfeld. Let's bring Dan into the
Oh, race
room.
winner.
Race winner, Dan Ritfeld, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. How was that?
How's it?
How was that at the end?
Very stressful. My arms were numb at the end there.
What wheel are you using?
I'm actually on a controller. I mean to say
Oh,
my hands were numb.
your
Yeah,
hands.
sorry.
No,
Yeah,
I think my hands would get sore on a controller before my arms got tired on a wheel. So
yeah.
I
I
actually,
felt a bit bad because I was on my phone's data to race because they're doing maintenance here, so they broke the fiber cable.
you
So
won't
I was
believe it, but
lagging
I mentioned that in the stream.
Yeah, I was lagging quite a bit in the race, which was also difficult on my side because the cars would be close, then they'd be like far away again, then they'd be close. So couldn't really tell where far a car would be in front of me or whatever or not. So I felt bad in a way that the other racers were around me
I mentioned it.
struggling as
I
well.
mentioned it in the stream that sometimes the driver with the problem, he doesn't notice. Like sometimes everything around him could look fine, and other times it looks like the rest of the lobby is broken. Um,
Yes.
so yeah,
So for me, it looks like they're lagging, but it's actually not. It's me that's
so
lagging.
it's difficult for
So
you because you don't know, is that car there or is he not there, and it's
yeah,
also difficult for the guys that are racing
yeah,
you because they're like, what's this car gonna do? Where's it gonna
yeah,
pop up?
yeah.
But
So I actually got
other,
to just apologize to the guys around me too because it must have been a bit difficult as well.
I think other
Obviously, I
than
can't really
that,
tell from their side.
Yeah, you were glitching a few times there, but so it was hard to judge the distance you were in front or behind. But I
Yeah,
think you
yeah,
managed it at the end.
yeah. It was very well raced. I think I was trying to manage my ERS at the end there as well,
Yeah.
behind you and Nicky Shin, and yeah, it was difficult. But yeah, I managed to manage the ERS for the
Yeah,
last lap.
but you caught up nicely those last. I think it was last 6 laps. You caught up nicely.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks.
the
Yeah,
leaders, I
but you
think the
guys were
leaders at
racing
that
in
point
front.
had,
Well,
I think they were racing so hard they
I
had
hope
no
so.
battery.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
anyone with
but it is a
battery
lot more
management at
difficult
the end,
to. Yeah, it is a lot more difficult to maintain ERS in the front as well because you got to try and keep that distance from the driver behind, obviously.
yeah, and defending
Yeah,
from the DRS all the time.
yeah, it's very difficult, especially on those first this from the first corner and the second corner. Those two DRS zones are difficult to maintain
it's like
your pace.
the way I've said it in the stream in the past is like the DRS is so difficult because if you're the quicker driver, like you've got driver one and driver two, and driver one is the quicker driver by 2/10 of a second every single lap. If the car behind you's got DRS, that 2/10 of a second
Yeah,
every lap means nothing. The DRS just cancels it out. So
yeah,
you, and then once you break DRS, that 2/10 of a second, the car gets progressively down the road. But while you're within that second, you've got to be quick enough to break it, otherwise you just stay there.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, 100%.
yeah. And
Yeah,
turn 3 was hectic as well because Nick was pushing me, pushing a lot of the overtakes throughout turn 3, so I needed to defend very hard there. So that was also a big takeover spot there.
And what I
yes,
saw a
yeah,
lot of was basically an overtake into turn one, and then the guy that just lost the lead gets DRS and goes right back into the very next
Yeah,
corner.
yeah,
So we saw a lot of
yeah.
back and forth. It was an awesome race. It was the penultimate race of the season. The Ferrari didn't win this time, so that's I suppose that's good. And yeah, we got
Yeah.
one more.
What
Do
happened
you
to Shane? Because
guys?
I didn't really see what happened to him.
Well, the two
Do you perhaps know?
Ferraris, Levy. I think I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to make any drama, but I think Levy made contact with an Aston Martin. He lost an end plate
Yeah,
that
that
was
was with
right
me.
into turn one.
I think that was turn one actually. Yeah,
That was turn one, so that was the
first lap.
one Ferrari. And then Kurbis, Nick Gishin, who else? Shane, and one of the Red Bulls. They were close together in the beginning of the race. There was four of them, and they actually broke away from the rest of the
Yes,
field.
yeah.
And then the Red Bull fell off with wing damage, and then Shane lost an end plate and just. I'm trying to think what happened to Shane. Okay, Shane had like an incident and he went backwards. Then he decided he was going to pit.
Yeah.
And when he pit, it basically, you know, when you jump on the brakes to try and slow down, there was a car just in front of him and he broke
Yes.
his wing. And by the time he got to the
Uh,
mechanics, they didn't change it. So he went back out on a fresh set of tires with a broken wing. So he had to pit again. And yeah, safety car still brought him into like a reasonable position. But if it wasn't for safety cars, he would have been
yeah.
way at the back. But yeah, sometimes you just get races like
Yeah.
that. One thing goes wrong and then another. But I'm just going to end the
Yeah.
stream.
I think this has been
You guys can stay
one of
here
the closest
for a minute or two.
closest races. Sorry.
In fact, we had a train of DRS cars with about 5 laps to go that went from P1 down to P11. So that was
Yeah, it is.
it's one of the closest races we've probably seen this season, and that's why I like short racetracks.
Yeah.
That's what you get at short racetracks. See that sort of thing in Austria, and we see
Yeah,
that
it
sort of
is.
thing in
It's fun.
Brazil. It happens at shorter racetracks. So I'm just going to say goodbye to the stream for now. Of course, thank you very much for joining. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. That's one of the best races we've seen on the channel. So, are we back on Sunday? I think we're not back on Sunday. I think SKR is now on a break. We'll be back on Monday with SAFRL, just the tier 1 this time round. They have an extended season, so 14 rounds. And then League v League returns on Tuesday night. So I'll see you then on Monday. If not, I'll see you on Tuesday. Or I'll see you next week Thursday. Cheers, everyone.
Turn on the screen, it's NFR. Feel the rush like a shooting star. The engines roar, the tires scream. Fast as lightning, it's a dream. Speed and drama, every turn on NFR. The rubber burns. Feel the thrill of every bend. Where the champions transcend. Feel the power at NFR. Burning tracks, driving far. Where the races never end. NFR, only friend. Like Fernando calls the play on NFR. Every race day, commentary sharp and loud, hyping up the roaring crowd. Feel the power at NFR. Burning tracks, driving far. Where the races never end. NFR, only friend. Not Fernando calls the play on NFR at race day. Commentary sharp and loud, hyping up the roaring crowd. Feel the power at NFR. Burning tracks, driving far. Where the races never end. NFR, only friend. Deaf Queen, the top supporter scene. In the crowd where speed is keen. NFR, the place to be. Join the race, watch and see. Engines scream down the track. Future speeds won't look back. Tires burn, hearts attack. 2024 ain't slack. Mountains of metal fly by. Crimson flags touch the sky. Champions reign, gonna die. Gripping the wheel we try. Just drive the speeds alive. Just drive in the fire we dive. Just drive the thrill, survive. Just drive. Grit and sweat fuel the race. Nerves of steel, ain't no grace. Monaco to endless chase. Life and death embrace. Mountains of metal fly by. Crimson flags touch the sky. Champions reign, gonna die. Gripping the wheel we try. Just drive the speeds alive. Just drive in the fire we dive. Just drive the thrill, survive. Just drive. Grit and sweat fuel the race. Nerves of steel, ain't no grace. Monaco to endless chase. Life and death embrace. Cameras flash, fierce delight. Track lights scorch through the night. Chasing dreams, ain't no fight. In this speed we take flight. Just drive the speeds alive. Just drive in the fire we dive. Just drive the thrill, survive. Just drive. Just drive. Just drive. Just drive. Just drive. Just drive.
Feel the speed, the thrill, high octane drama can't get off fill. Engines roaring loud, heartbeats on the rise. On NFR, see the sparks in our eyes. Racing through the night, chasing every turn. On NFR, adrenaline we burn. Pit stops and fast cars, it's a wild ride. NFR, in our veins we can't hide. NFR, feel the rush, feel the speed. Formula One dreams, we take the lead. On NFR, we're flying high. Under the lights, we touch the sky. Yeah. Every lap a story, every driver's dream. On NFR, racing's the supreme. Checker flags waving, champions arise. NFR brings the glory to our eyes. NFR, where the legends are born. Speeding past the limits, engines reborn. In the fast lane, every second counts. NFR, the thrill always mounts. NFR, feel the rush, feel the speed. Formula One dreams, we take the lead. On NFR, we're flying high. Under the lights, we touch the sky. NFR with the rush, feel the speed. Formula One dreams, we take the lead. On NFR lane, every second counts. NFR, the thrill always mounts. NFR, feel the rush, feel the speed. Formula One dreams, we take the lead. On NFR, we're flying high. Under the lights, we touch the sky. You to NFR, feel the speed, the speed. You to NFR.
legends on the field unfiled. DRS takes the lead, and F1 brings the speed. Thursday nights with the crew, every race like something new.